me texting you earlier in the day, surreptitiously reminding you.
Possibly, yes. I believe your text said something like, "Hey, we're doing the podcast today. I'll talk to you in a few hours," or something to
Yeah,
that effect.
almost exactly that. And you're wearing what looks like a championship boxing robe.
This is a woman's wizard robe. It was
How
in
do
the
you,
women's section.
are the buttons on the opposite side? How do you know it's a women's?
It was in the women's section, and it's got these ties. You can't really see them. They're
Yeah.
tie for the listener at home who can't see anything. They're ties that allow you to tie your robe closed so that it doesn't accidentally fall open. Now, also for the listener, you on the video, if anybody's watching the video right now, you're going to see that there's a suspicious lump underneath my robe in the shoulder area. I just want to show the people at home I've got
uh,
my shoulder corn going on. That's right. I said it. Shoulder corn.
yeah.
Um,
As opposed to your knees peas.
and I like it. I have my shoulder is hurting. I have an old injury. Well, okay, so uh, I told this story before, and it's not a great story, but I I told it in this way, and it's interesting because of how it mutates. So I said we have some new employees. I have two different computers that I use for two different systems. We have some new employees who only use System 1, and I normally use System 2. So System 1 is further away. It's a laptop that's further away from me. And so I type on System 1 to them with my arms outstretched really, really far because it's further up on the desk, right? And I've been typing to them a lot. And so after a week of doing that, my shoulder and my neck hurt. I was explaining to this to someone, they're like, okay, well, and then I was like, oh yeah, well, it could also be an old injury from when I was working in construction and I lifted a really, really big, heavy uh, thing of trash up and my I tried to push really hard and my shoulder moved, but the thing didn't. So I was holding it up and and I pushed harder to get it to move more and it didn't move more, but my shoulder went all weird.
So
So that was that.
it's not.
And he was like, "Well, that's not really a typing injury." And then I was like, "Well, and then also there's a handcuff trick that I used to do, and Ben, you know about this handcuff trick, where I would start with my hands behind my back, and through twisting my arms and moving it around and stuff, I would move them around to the front. And the shoulder and arm that hurt is the one that took the brunt of that twisting whenever I would do it.
So it's not just a bad ergonomic injury, but it's an injury that was revitalized via poor ergonomics.
Exactly, Ben. You got it. So that's why I've got the shoulder corn because even though I have gel pack, I bought a gel pack for coldness. The gel pack doesn't keep the cool as long as the corn does.
Yeah.
So the corn is to keep my shoulder iced. Also, I took two and sponsored content. If you wanted a leave, I took two a leave, and you're supposed to drink a big glass of water with it. So we're working against the clock now for how long it takes me to get that big glass of water processed. Towards the end, I might be like, okay, we got to wrap this up. Let's go. We'll see.
I am actually. Oh, I see. Get that big glass of water process. I'm a fan
Thank you,
of the
man.
Aleve. I when I was injured recently, I used it, and it was surprising how fast. But when we were in ATF, if you recall, I twisted my ankle during rehearsals.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I kind of
rehearsals
remember
we were
that.
playing basketball, and as clowns, so it was sort of like not really basketball. It was clown basketball.
And we should say that in the cast there was a different Paul, not me. Paul Bedritis, who, for all intents and purposes, was like a professional basketball player compared to pretty much
Compared
everybody
to
else.
us.
Yeah.
But also very competitive and very into sports and took it very seriously. But I'm not blaming Paul for this.
Yes.
I did jump up and come down on somebody else's foot, twisted my ankle, and but I was
Mm.
out. So I was out the rest of the rehearsal slash game. But I remember when I went home, I took some ice and I put ice in like a Ziploc bag and wrapped it in a towel and iced my ankle. But I remember the pain from the coldness of the ice was more than the pain of the sprained ankle itself.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I
Uh,
had to moderate my icing. It was very uncomfortable. And I bought like a compression sock. I don't think they're called compression socks, but I bought something to keep my ankle sort of in line from there on out. And I had to
there
wrap my
are
ankle.
things called compression socks.
I know, but this is different. This isn't like a sock that
Yeah.
you know keep to keep the blood from keep your blood circulating. This was just something to keep your ankle in line. But yeah, good
So,
times.
but more recently you had an injury, you said.
Oh, you know, it's just we're getting old, and
Yeah.
when we do things that we uh, don't think of because we could normally do it without injury. I was in a car, and I was in the driver's seat, and I just had to grab something from the back seat. I think I was like grabbing my coat or something,
Oh
and
no,
for
yeah.
whatever reason, I strained. I must have like my neck hurt like a mofo after that.
Yeah.
It was either I don't know if it was like if I pulled something or if it was a muscle spasm or what, but it was like it hurt like nothing else.
The lead singer of Liars, uh I interviewed him. Oh geez. He has two A names. I think it's Alexei Andrew. I apologize if the Liars are listening to this. But I think that's it. Um, he tweaked his back cleaning his house. He reached down to pick something up, like, and nothing heavy either. He just reached down to pick something up, and it tweaked his
Yeah.
back. And he had to perform. He was in Seattle, Washington. I believe they're from Australia. I want to say. Anyway, they're great. Uh, Obviously, I don't know as much about them as I thought I did when I started talking. But
Welcome to the GudeLaurance
they
podcast.
exactly. Hey, if you want to correct me, wait, are there any corrections before? I don't want to just jump into it, but
Nope,
I'm assuming there aren't any.
there are none.
Okay, so if you want to correct us, write to us at Ben's email at yahoo.com at gmail.com. And
What you see on your
we
screen.
will take your suggestion, your correction, whatever, and we'll read it and we will react to it. And then you can set the record straight as to what the real name of the lead singer of Liars is. I think I'm close. But anyway, so he had to perform. We were in Seattle. He had to perform sitting in a chair the whole time. And there was one part that was great because he was singing and he slammed the beer that he had down on the table, and the beer just shot up into the air and foamed around his hand and stuff. And it was cooler than what I've seen many lead singers do when they can walk around. So,
There's that famous story about Dave Grohl, who I don't know how this happened, but he like broke his leg during a show, and they stopped the show for like half an hour while the medics took care of him and set his leg and put him in a wheelchair, and then he came out in a wheelchair with his leg all propped up and finished the show.
Exactly. That's what I wonder if Dave Grohl and Jackie Chan ever met each other.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a thing. Jackie Chan like broke his leg, and they put his leg into a cast, and he had a thing that looked like his shoe that was made out of like spandex or something that he pulled over the cast so that he could finish the shoot.
Yeah. Amazing. I saw that. Yeah. I mean, they don't come like that anymore, right? You know, it's unless you're like Tom Cruise and you break your ankle doing your own stunts and finish the scene, probably in incredible pain.
That's something that happens here in the Midwest. It doesn't happen as much. Here's the thing: the Midwest. I'll just let you know, Midwest report. A lot of people are better. There are some people that still aren't, but a lot of people are better. But there was a guy, I was working at Petite Four, the motion picture show in Collinsville, and there's a guy came in, and he was like, "Oh, Jackie Chan does his own stunts," and this is what they do. They say something that's true, but in a derisive way, so that it sounds like they're like the other person is a liar, maybe, or they're not cool because of it or something. Like I've seen someone reduce someone to tears, and it wasn't me, but full disclosure, when I was in grade school, I cried all the time. But this wasn't me in this case. Some kid just said to another kid, "You love your mom." And the way that he said, "You love your mom," which is, probably true, made the kid just lose it and start crying.
There's got to be more behind that.
Well, it was like the way that I observed, because, you can't tell. Well, I can't tell. I can't tell all the time what people mean, but I can guess what they mean. I've spent my life, Ben, fighting against this, the you humans and your emotions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we get it. You're a robot.
What's that?
We get it. You're a robot. We've discussed this.
But I am a robot that, they say that you can't tell human emotions. I can tell what people are doing, and I know what faces to make back at. I'm pretty good, Ben. I'm good at this now. But the thing that I still can't do, and this is a segue, by the way. I'm stopping talking about the kid who was crying because somebody said he loved his mom. I have a hard time figuring out the proper driving things. And this is what I'm going to share this with you. You've driven in this area before. When you came to visit, you were driving.
Yes.
Okay.
I drove a muscle car.
And this may actually be happening in Seattle for you as well. I don't know. But here's the situation. I want to say it's a 2-lane road. It's whatever. There's a road going this way and a road going that way. Is that a 2-lane road?
Yes.
Okay.
2 lanes on the road, one in each direction.
Okay, good.
Now, but if you say 2-lane highway, that's 2 lanes in the single direction, so 4 lanes total.
And that was the thing I got confused about. So, but 2-lane road is correct. 2-lane road, one going this way, one going this way. If I'm turning left and there's a guy coming at me, what happens sometimes around these parts is the guy speeds up so that I can't turn in front of him.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, if they would keep going the constant speed, then I would get turned and be out of his way by the time he reached me.
Because all the world's a race.
They don't want you to do that, so they speed up.
Yeah.
And this has been my experience for my entire life. 48 years, almost. Well, except I wasn't really driving as a baby. So, but you get the idea. Someone today said, no. What they're doing is they think that you're going to wait for them to pass before you turn.
So they're speeding up. So you don't have to wait.
Can turn quicker.
Yeah. I was just going to say that.
And so this whole time, Ben, I've been thinking these people are jerks. And the reason I've been thinking these people are jerks is because I've been measuring the time. And if they don't do anything and they just let me turn, everything's fine. But instead, they speed up. So I can't turn. And so I'm waiting longer. And I was like, they don't want to wait for me. But what they're doing in their mind is they're making it so that I don't wait as long. And this is what the person said that got me to think, yeah, I guess he's right. because if it were me, I would have waited for the car to pass before I went. So I don't know. I'm at sea, Ben. I
I
don't know
mean,
what's right anymore. But so that was your first impression. They were speeding up so I could turn.
no, it wasn't my first impression. It's just a possibility because when you talk
Yeah.
about like people speeding up because of something that they perceive you doing, many times, especially around here, is if you want to change lanes and somebody's like more than a car's length behind you, and if you all can maintain your consistent speed, you're able to merge. However, and this probably happens everywhere, but it's really prominent here in the city, people will speed up to cut you off so you can't merge.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where this came from actually. Somebody was complaining about what you're talking about. And I was like, well, here's something similar that I hate, and then I talked about my thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
what the story was about.
It's just
The
like I'm not
speeding up.
saying I'm not saying that the people you're talking about aren't jerks, but I'm saying it's possible that they're still a jerk. They just may not have been a jerk in that moment.
Right. And that's the thing is that, all I need is to change my mind a little bit and their motivations become better. And
Yeah.
I like that. A world where people aren't mean, but they're actually, oh, they're getting out of my way. That's nice. But the cutting somebody off thing, there's no positive side of it. The person suggested that if you're with someone and they're a person that does that, it should be just like how, you're with someone and they're mean to a service person at the restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
That if they cut somebody off like that, then that they're maybe somebody to watch out for, not
Yeah.
dating material.
That's always an indicator of like when you're on a first date with somebody, how do they treat the servers?
And how do they treat people who are trying to merge into their lane?
Exactly. Well, hopefully,
Now,
if you're on
for
if you're on
me,
a
oh, sorry, go
first
ahead.
date, hopefully, if you're on a first date with somebody, you're not in their car.
Oh, well, that's something that you can't really help out here
Being
in
in
the
a car with
Midwest.
someone is at least second date material.
Yeah, yeah. It's too bad. Oh, maybe you get your friend to drive you or something, or you drive yourself. That's always a possibility.
Or
I
you live in
keep
the
forgetting
city
that
and you don't need to drive.
the the one other thing I was going to say about that situation is that I have a way that I operate, Ben, that a lot of people don't around here or anywhere else. It's this: I stay in the right lane and I go the speed limit, and that's all. I just stay in the right lane. I go the speed limit. If someone wants to go faster than me, they can go into the left lane and pass me. If someone is going slower than me, I will go into the left lane, pass them, go back in, and then go the speed limit again. And that seems to work out pretty well. It takes me, because otherwise I'm thinking too much about, well, okay, now I'm breaking the law, but I'm breaking the law because this guy behind me is going as fast as I am. Probably neither of us are going to, that whole thing. Too much thinking. I stay in the right lane, go the speed limit, pass if I need to, and let others pass me. There are two types of people that put a confound to this, Ben.
Yeah.
Can you guess what those two types of people are?
One type is the person who speeds up as you're trying to pass, and so you
Absolutely.
can't pass without actually exceeding the speed limit by a considerable margin yourself.
That's number one. And then number two are tailgaters.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not going to go any faster. I've got my cruise control set. You aren't going to hit me, but if I have to stop suddenly, you're going to crash into me, and I hate it.
That was
But
actually one of my.
eventually they pass me.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that was one of the things that gave me the biggest complex when I was learning how to drive. I remember this specifically, this one moment when my dad and I were in the car and we're driving down, a 2-lane road in the Nisqually Reservation, and I'm probably going the speed limit. I'm not exceeding it. I know that. Maybe I'm going a little bit slower, but some dude was on my ass. And my dad noticed that I kept like looking in the rearview mirror and like being paranoid. And he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Well, this guy's like right on my tail." He's like, "Don't worry about him. You worry about the road. Don't worry about that guy." And I've tried to think about that every time like somebody's tailgating me. I'm like, okay, of all, I got to make sure that there's plenty of room in front of me if I need to brake suddenly, so I don't become this, metal sandwich. But yeah, don't worry about that guy. His problems aren't yours.
That's a really good way to think about it. And I will have, even though I've never heard your dad speak, I will have his voice in my head the next time somebody tailgates me.
Yeah.
Oh, so hey, Ben.
Yes, Paul.
You remember Edward?
Edward. Of course I remember Edward.
The dog. So we did a 23andMe type thing on Edward. It is not 23andMe. It's called something else, but I don't remember what it's called. But I'm sure Jennifer would know and would correct us if we. There's a dog pun in there somewhere. I remember that. Look, he's got his paw on me. This is what he does.
There's a dog pun in the name of the 23andMe doggy DNA thing.
It's Embark. It's called Embark. EMBARK.
So you've done it, but you haven't gotten the results yet. Is that what you're saying?
No, we have gotten the results.
Oh, you have gotten the results.
Yeah. So here's the thing: we've called him a Chiweenie because he's part Chihuahua and he's part Dachshund. That is correct. He's mostly Dachshund, but more than Chihuahua. He's like he's basically a third of each. There's a little mini Pinscher in there and a little Pekingese, but mostly these three. Mostly Dachshund, then Beagle, and then Chihuahua.
Yeah, he's got some Beagle coloring.
Yeah, that's why he barks so much. Jennifer says.
Yeah, beagles
so
are
loud.
noisy. Beagles are noisy MFers. My mom's cousin had some beagles when we were visiting my grandmother once, and they were, super loud. Cute though.
Super loud. It's true.
When they weren't when they weren't when they weren't freaking out about every little thing, they were cute.
He is my emotional support dog.
Yeah.
We're going to be getting IDs pretty soon. It's going to be great. Okay, Ben. So here we go. We're almost halfway through. We're about a third of the way through. Has anyone interacted with us? Is anybody watching?
No.
Is there any?
Nobody has interacted with us.
No one watching. It's just you and me out here in the void.
Yeah, it's just you and me. Oh, we got one person watching. Sorry, I was paying attention. I was.
Oh, hey, one person.
I was looking at a voicemail I was looking at a voicemail transcription of a phone call I just received. Speaking about cars, my car, this car I bought. I've talked about it. I don't know if I mentioned last week I took it into the shop because I cannot open the rear hatchback. And
weird, but okay.
They needed to order a part. The part was coming from Wisconsin, apparently. And they still don't have it. And that's what the guy was telling me. He still doesn't have the part to fix my car. And so tomorrow it'll be, and it's like, it's not a thing that matters if the car runs or not. So I may actually just say, hey, look, can I just come pick up my car and then bring it back when this part comes in?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm getting a little tired of not having my car. It's not that I have a loaner car, but I'd rather have my car.
Yeah, exactly. You just got it. I get it.
I just got it. So I'm a little frustrated.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I ripped the handle off the back of the hatchback of my my Prius. I had to get it fixed.
On purpose?
And it was like, what's that? Oh no, on accident.
On purpose?
I mean, it was.
Yeah.
No, it was held on by small plastic things, and all the plastic things had sort of torn up and got rotten and all that, and it just, I still felt like I was super strong, but it was just rip problem. But here's the thing, it cost like, I don't know, some hundreds of dollars to replace the back of it.
Yeah.
Because of the special part that they needed to do it.
Yeah.
And I had the old one taped on. So I thought the thing that they were going to replace was like the whole back of it. But the piece that they replaced was not the whole back of it, and the tape. You know how it leaves a residue? That residue is still on it from the old time when I had it taped on. So it's just new piece, tape residue, tape residue. It's fine
Yeah.
though. I like, and I'll tell you this, Ben, forever. I like a car that looks crappy but drives well.
That was my
That's
that was
my
my that was my Tercel. That was
yeah,
it looked crappy, but it was clean on the inside and it drove well. But
exactly.
and I
And
I
in a
never
city, that's a
yeah,
bonus,
because
I think.
people could bump into it. I wouldn't care. But the thing is, it was getting to that point where I was going to have to put a lot of money into it just to keep it running.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah,
that's
but
where I am with this one, but I own it, so I
yeah,
I kind of I know I wouldn't get a lot of money for it. So anytime I think, oh, maybe I should buy a new car, I kind of go, okay, well, how much would a new car cost? And
yeah,
will it drive any better than this? That kind
yeah,
of thing. So far,
yeah.
I'm going to keep this alive for as
But
long as I can, I think.
now I get to
But it is falling apart,
yeah. Now I get
like
to
literally.
spend a lot of money to fix this car, and I don't even have it yet. And yeah, it's but it's also a car that I'm paranoid about because now it's like, oh no, what if somebody runs into it? Once it gets that first scratch or that first little dent, then that'll be, once you get that out of the way, then I'll relax a little bit. But I'm paranoid for one reason, and I'll tell you what that is. I'm paranoid that it's not that the dealership that I took it to isn't actually waiting for this part to fix my car. I'm worried that they've actually crashed my car somehow, and
What?
they are stringing me along, telling me that they're waiting for this part while they take my car to a body shop and fix it without me knowing.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. Um, but of course not good for you.
Yeah, because
But that would be real. Yeah. Woo, this is
still don't have
taking
that
a
part.
while. Or they're gonna buy you they're looking to find an exact make and model of your car because it's beyond repair at this point. Oh, hey,
Uh,
by the way, a little while back, if astute listeners may be able to hear my neck pop. I don't know, but you will be able to hear now me flipping over the shoulder corn because it gets warm, after a while, and the
yeah.
other side is still cool. So we'll see. But here's the question: why does my neck feel like my neck starts to get better, and when it starts to get better, it pops all the time? I asked Jennifer, who knows about medical stuff, but she didn't know the answer to this one. She said that it pops when the tendons slip over. It's like a snapping of that, which I hadn't. I mean, I guess I thought it was fluid in the joints. Wait a second.
I don't know.
Hey, everybody, this is something you could look up. Why does your neck snap or crack? I thought it was fluid in the joints. Maybe that was busted, and it's because the tendons are slipping over something. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know. There was a point in time where I thought that your knuckles cracked because air built up in them like a carbonated soda.
Oh yeah, maybe that's the same thing. Fluid in the knuckles. Maybe you and I are thinking along the same lines. And I
But I
was
can
thinking of soda, and I just,
I
as I
can
got older, I realized that soda wouldn't be in your hands.
there was
You never can tell.
there was that scientist. Did you hear this about this guy who won an Ig Nobel Prize for this experiment that he conducted on himself to see if cracking your knuckles actually was bad for you? He
Oh,
only cracked his knuckles on one hand and not on the other for like 20 years just to see if there was a
wow.
difference. And after or however many years, it was like it was an absurd number, like 20 years, and only to find that his hands had no discernible difference between them. So cracking your knuckles does not, in fact, uh, give you arthritis like your
Nice.
parents would tell you. Your parents only tell you that because they are tired of hearing you crack your knuckles.
Ha. So there you go. Interesting. Maybe I could extrapolate that to the idea that cracking my neck isn't bad either. Maybe.
I crack my jaw a lot
Although
too, and I'm wondering
there
if
are
I'm doing something bad.
vertebrae there, so that's something. Oh, hey, I saw nobody, by the
I
way.
was thinking about just forking over the dough and watching it because I've been hearing some good things.
Here's the thing. I forked over the dough, and not only did I fork over the dough, Ben,
Yeah.
I forked over twice the amount that sorry, I'm hitting the camera, everybody. I forked
Twice
over
the amount.
twice the amount that I should have. Because I bought
Why?
the HD version, right?
Yeah. You bought
And
the
I'm
HD
like,
version or you rented the HD version?
rented it. I rented the HD version. And I
Technically, you
was
don't
like,
buy
oh
digital
man,
media anyway.
yeah. So I was like, oh, and there was all this artifacting and stuff. I'm like, wait a second. I went back, and there's an Ultra HD version, which is what I should have bought.
Ultra HD.
Because there
Do
was
you
an
know the
SD, an HD, and then there's an Ultra HD.
is
So I got
the
the
Ultra
HD version and the Ultra.
HD is the Ultra HD version 4K?
That's right.
Like
See, I mistakenly thought the HD version was the 4K, but no,
HD version's like
it is not.
1920 by 1080. Just regular HD.
Yeah,
There
1080.
are a
Yeah,
lot of different HD. Like there's HD, which is 1920 by 1080. UHD, Ultra HD, in some circles means twice that. So 21 whatever the numbers are, 21 something by 19 something, or by 20 something, but not twice it, but close to it. And then there's 4K, but there's two levels of 4K
yep.
too. There's like a 30 something something by something something, and a 40 something something by something something. It's
And then
confusing.
there's 8K.
The aspect ratios are
Man,
different too.
sometimes I go into Best Buy and just look at the TVs, and it's amazing. Yeah, you can
I
get wrapped up in that a little bit. A lot of TV stuff. Hey,
I'm looking at
speaking.
this because I'm looking it up because I am a video professional, but I don't know the resolutions of 4K media.
Oh, Ben, you're
I
breaking the
know
rules,
I am breaking the
my
rules,
friend.
but I'm telling you I'm breaking the rules. I'm not quietly breaking the rules.
Mm.
Yeah, 3840 by 2160 is 4K UHD, and 4096 by 3072 is 4K full frame. There are so
Hmm.
many 4K resolutions. Paul, what's your thought on 4K? Do you think it looks
I
better on when you watch something?
yeah, yeah, it definitely does. The artifacting in the at least on my TV, right? Black is not black in HD. The lower versions. It's
Yeah.
chunks of black over here and over here and over here, whereas in
Dark
4K, total black.
darkness does not compress well.
Yeah.
But my TV is only 1920 by 1080 resolution. So if I bought
Well,
the
yeah,
4K
that's
version, I wouldn't see a true 4K picture.
yeah, that's true. But this is the 4K TV, so
Well,
that
there you have
is
it.
something. But now I'm wondering about the five. I forget what the maximum output of the PS5 is, but I think it's 4K. I want to say,
Maybe I should rent
and our
the
TV looks fine for it.
maybe I should rent nobody using my Oculus Quest.
Is your Oculus Quest 4K?
I have no idea what the resolution is, but the screens are right there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch some stuff with the PS4, um, and the weird thing is, this is my experience anyway. When I'm watching something in the with the PS4, right? The resolution doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is my brain processes it as though I'm looking at the real thing. But it's like if it's a lower resolution, it's like I have a piece of gauze in front of my face. Like my brain fills in what the low resolution is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
That's the
it,
persistence of vision
yeah.
for you.
Hey, yeah, you're
I
right.
Yeah, I haven't. I have watched one episode of Jeopardy using my Oculus just to get a sense of what it's like, and I generally don't prefer watching movies or TV wearing a VR headset because until in that virtual environment they give you, it can map out where your popcorn is and where your drinks
Yeah,
are. Because I like to, watch popcorn and have a drink when I'm watching stuff. And but then I got to peek through the little hole in, that's down your nose and try to find where
you
my
know,
glass of water
Ben,
is.
I think we've just invented something
What's that?
for it. It would be like little discs, right? Little colored discs that you put on other stuff, and you type in what type of thing it is, and then it maps it into 3D. Like, okay, the green disc is my soda,
Yeah.
and it scans and so that you can actually see it. That would be great. I
I
love it.
think I think the because the I don't know about the PSVR. I'm assuming it does, but the Oculus has cameras on the outside, and you can enable pass through. So you can actually see things. It could see your hands. The hand tracking isn't quite there yet, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
So it should be. You should be able to say, "Look, this is my can of soda. That's my bowl of popcorn. Show me those in my virtual environment while I'm watching nobody."
That's going to be, I think, the next step in virtual reality is going to be hands,
I
the
tried doing.
gloves.
Yeah, the Oculus, you don't need gloves. It sees your hands, and you can enable hand tracking so you don't use the controllers, right? You can actually flip through the menus, Minority Report style.
Really?
Yeah, but it's like
That's
it's
cool.
very inconsistent. It's actually frustratingly slow, but it's there. It can work in certain environments,
Well,
and
yeah, but I want the
it'll only
tactile
get better.
feedback too,
Yeah, the feedback you
you
won't
know?
get. Now, if you do wear
Um,
gloves and it can give you that taptic feedback, then like it'll make you feel like you're holding something.
yeah, I think
Next
that
step.
would be great.
Yeah. Who knew that the Nintendo Power Glove was so far ahead of its time?
Well, I think, see, that's the thing is that I think that's kind of what they wanted you to think it was,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and this goes back to the idea that we think about the future being that things get better and better the further into the future you get. But there's some stuff that existed back when we were kids that still isn't on the market now. I can't name any of them. But if they had come out at the time, they would be more advanced now, but they didn't come out at all. So like virtual reality, right? From like the 90s to however many years ago, like maybe 5 years ago, there wasn't a big jump in technology. It got a lot better, but for a while there was sort of a gap.
Yeah.
And I think it's that way with other stuff too. Magnets, we don't use magnets enough, Ben. Magnets and gravity, there's got to be more to it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just
So,
saw I
oh,
just saw an article today about how GM had an all-electric car on the market back in the early 90s and could have led the push as far as electric vehicles go. But for one reason or another, they discontinued it.
yeah, wasn't there is that who killed the electric car, the Tom Hanks thing? I think
I
there was like
don't
a
know.
documentary about it.
I haven't seen it.
I remember when I went to the Epcot Center. This would have been in like 84, I think. 80, maybe sometime in the early 80s. I went to the Epcot Center and there was something that was shown. I forget which company it was, but it was all about alternative fuel sources.
Yeah.
And in the cartoon that they showed to us kids, everyone who had an alternate fuel source was crazy. was crazy and stupid and dumb, and their thing didn't work. It was a cartoon. So there was a mad scientist who tried to make a car that ran on hydrogen, and it blew up on him. And there
Yeah.
was a superhero who wanted everything to go by magnets. But then somebody was like, well, what if you want to go somewhere where magnets don't go? And he was like, well, then you get a horse, because there's another guy who wanted horses. And so all of these people were dumb, and the kids were like, well, maybe we'll stick with gasoline for right now. It was insane now that I remember it. At the time, I was like, well, I guess these alternate fuel
This-
sources don't work so well.
Brought to you by
Just
the
like
U.S.
they wanted me to.
petroleum industry.
Man, Ben, I'm telling you, it was a certain car company, and I forget which one it was. Not because I'm afraid to get sued, I really don't remember. But you can look it up on YouTube and see the cartoon if you watch it.
There is a car museum in Tacoma right next to the Tacoma Dome, and they have a steam-powered Oldsmobile.
Whoa!
Yeah, Oldsmobile
That's
produced
pretty
a
cool.
steam-powered car.
My dad had a Model A Ford that he just recently sold because he, couldn't upkeep it or whatever. But that
Wow.
was like a really early car. What is the earliest car that you've ridden in?
That I've ridden in?
Yeah, because it would actually run and we would get in it,
Yeah.
sit on the rumble seat and all that.
Well, my dad had a 57 Chevy when I was a kid. We had a Ford Thunderbird, 50s Ford Thunderbird, but I do not know exactly what year it was.
But like you've never been in like a 1930s car or anything like that?
Nothing like a Model A. No.
Wow, that's insane.
I
Because
know.
you're the car guy. Out of the two of us, you're the car guy.
Yeah, but my dad didn't own a Ford Model A.
Yeah. I guess I didn't think it was that unique at the time. Well,
Those are really hard to come by. I hope he got a pretty penny for it.
Well, yeah, hopefully. You never know, though. He's an interesting businessman, I'll say.
This is your
because-
adopted dad, the Lutheran minister dad?
Yep, George. And because like we were fixing his sump pump or trying to, and they kept on telling him that it was they'd have to run new wire out and it would be like $200, and he's like, well, I don't think so, and he like messed around with it and eventually fixed it himself. So that's kind of one of the things that he does. But then other times he pays money for stuff, and I'm like, well, no. I guess the thing is, you know what it is, Ben, and you're hearing it here first. I realize that whenever he buys something or sells something, I'm surprised because he normally doesn't do it. And so I realize now I don't know how much stuff costs. But the fact that he bought the house across the street from the parsonage and the church that he used to go at is still weird to me. Like maybe he doesn't like change, and I can respect that. I'm not a big fan of change myself, which is weird. But you know what I mean. Like
That's why I never pay in cash.
You'll back me up on this. We do our show, right?
Yeah.
And then people hang out and they do stuff and all that. Is it not hard to get me to go out and do things? Like carousing wise with other people and all that. If it's a project and there's a set thing to do, it's a lot easier. Like going to movies. Easy.
Yeah.
We're going to the movie. The
But,
movie is there, we're gonna show up. It's no
There
problem.
was a point where you never hung out after Spin the Bottle. You just wanted to go home immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Same, and it's not just, I want you to know, not just Spin the Bottle. This happened way back. Anyone who was in the nonprofits with me or American Scream, those two comedy / improv groups I was in, same thing. Everybody would go out. I'd just go home. Same thing with people at work whenever they wanted to go out. Hey, let's go out after work. No, I will not. And it's mostly because, like, I can keep it together and be, all right for short periods of time, but I need to not be around other people having unstructured fun in a location that I can't leave immediately. I don't like it. There are
Yeah.
problems.
No, I know what you
And
mean,
it's
and my pendulum swings the other way, where it gets to the point where, like, if I'm at a party or something, I find it very hard to leave. Not because I'm like having so much fun, but because I don't want to be the person to say, "You guys aren't entertaining me enough. I have to go now."
oh, you feel like social pressure to still
Yeah.
be around and have fun with the
Yeah,
people.
so often I'm sometimes I'm like the last one like when we had parties. I was the last one at a party because I didn't want to like start that chain of people leaving, cuz you know
Mm.
at a social event or whatever, you find it now on Zoom rooms where like people will hang out, but then like once that first person leaves, everybody starts falling off the
Okay,
call.
well, see you later. Yeah, that kind of
Yeah, well, I
thing.
guess that's it. I gotta go too. It's something like that. So I would often find myself late, especially if it were like a house party or something. Not something here at the theater. I have no problem just like ghosting at a party here. But like if somebody's having a party at their house, I would often find myself the last one there because I didn't want the host to feel that I didn't enjoy myself at their function,
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Um,
even
Now
if I was not enjoying myself at all.
we and when I say we, it was there's a thing called that we called or someone else called the fog. It was you, me, Stephen McCandless,
The free
and
associating
Joseph
white
Krebs.
guys.
The free associating white guys,
Did Rick Miller not
FAWG.
coin that, or was he part of it?
Well, here's the thing. It mm, Now I don't know for sure, but I feel like Rick wasn't included in it, and I think it's because Rick could always play guitar or do something like the thing with us is that if the rule was, or the legend was, that if all four of us were in the same room in a party, soon it would just be all four of us. Everybody else will have left because we're all talking
Yeah.
about our stuff. I just realized I've been watching my big version of myself, and you were up in the corner. I had not seen your facial expressions this entire time.
Oh, good.
Uh, the reason is, though, I'll tell you why. The little me on the other side of you moves slightly afterwards and not mirrored, so it freaks me out sometimes.
Yeah.
I get stuck.
Going back to the the free associating white guys. The reason I bring Rick up is because that also evolved into the three of us, you, me, and Rick, maintained that superpower even after like McCandless and Joseph had graduated out of it. More often than not, the three of us would be like in the kitchen at Drooping Acres in the middle of a big rowdy party, and then after a while we'd look around and everybody had left. And then we
Interesting.
and then we
So
would like go into the living room and do the same thing. Everybody moves back into the kitchen. It's almost
yeah,
enough to give somebody a complex.
yeah, exactly. Um, there's a separate thing that would happen sometimes at parties here in Illinois, where I'd be at a party. Because here's the thing, my friends, my roommates would have parties, and those are parties that I couldn't leave because I lived
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah.
So so every once in a while, I would sort of, if this makes sense, I would sort of come to, I would like suddenly have a moment of clarity, and everyone's standing around me laughing at something I have said or done or whatever. And I'm not saying that I blanked out. I mean, I remember, I can remember everything up until the point that that happened, but I would be kind of surprised and be like, everybody really liked that. And I'd see how long I could ride that wave. and it would go for a while, and then after a while, there's just a sudden, okay, it's like when you're petting a cat and the cat's done.
Yeah, they let you know.
They're like, oh, you're not petting me anymore. It's like, okay, jokes are done. And so what I would try to learn to do was to bow out right before that happened. Like leave them wanting
Leave 'em
more,
wanting more,
and all that kind of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But I still don't like parties. Not a big fan.
Well, that's a good thing because nobody's allowed to have parties right now.
Right, exactly. This is Ben. I will tell you now that I'm fully vaccinated. I don't know if you are. I think
I get my second shot a week from Saturday.
Okay, good. You're almost there.
Almost there.
You know the CDC rules came out. You do not have to wear a mask outdoors if you're fully vaccinated.
In small groups of people.
As long as you're not in a large group of people.
Yeah. But also small groups of people.
Goes the other. We're talking about the same thing. But here's the thing. Somebody was like, well, this means nobody will wear a mask because how am I going to know if they're vaccinated or not? Anyone can just say that they are and then not wear the mask. And it's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
I'm going to be in small town America in July. And I'm a little nervous about the reaction I'll get from people when I wear my mask everywhere.
Oh yeah, you will get a reaction.
I'm afraid of getting confronted.
Yeah, well, are you talking about indoors? You're going to be afraid to wear your mask?
Yeah, like I'm in July. I'm driving.
I thought you meant outside. Because
no. But like
going to happen
in July, I'm gonna be driving a U-Haul from Oklahoma to Seattle.
Right.
And like when I pull over to get some food or check into a hotel or something, I'm still gonna be wearing my mask. I'll be fully vaccinated by then, but I'm still gonna wear my mask inside when there's other people around. And so I'm preparing myself for like the confrontation of people who are going to be, and I'm sure I'm blowing this out of proportion, but like the, people at the hotel desk going, what are you wearing that mask for? COVID is a hoax.
Okay. So here's what I'd say. Jennifer and I, when we went on our road trip, there were people at the hotel, like guests who didn't wear their masks, even though there were rules saying that you had to wear them. We stayed at one place where the front desk person wasn't wearing their mask, but they didn't say anything to us.
Yeah.
At the time,
I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure I'm blowing this out of proportion, and it's gonna be fine.
Well, no, I mean, I was at a gas station one time, pumping my gas, and a guy was like, "This is on our way back from the trip," and this guy was like, "Yo, why don't you just stay home?" I'm like, I have.
Why don't you stay home, sir?
I am going home. I am going there, but they did that thing. It's a thing that you do in the Midwest, but they probably do other places too, where they're saying it to their friend, even though they're talking to you, they're saying it to their friend.
Yeah.
I guess some people think that I've got a disease.
Yeah.
That's not what this guy said, but the same.
But it's sort of like the subtext. But I have to understand that I'm a relatively normal-looking white dude. And so the amount of affront I will get in small town America is small compared to friends of mine.
You look like small town America. You look like you're probably a school teacher. That's probably.
I teach math to your kid at Rollins Elementary, and so make sure little Timmy does his homework.
Sir Henry Rollins from.
Yeah. Today we're going to be studying Black Flag.
Exactly. Black Flag. Where do those
scallywags,
those blocks in their logo come from, Ben?
You see those everywhere too. Like every once in a while I'll see something that looks like the Black Flag logo, but it's not. Yeah. And I'm like, what does Henry think about this?
Yeah, exactly. Hank the Tank, as he was called by Kennedy, the right
The
wing MTV VJ.
well, she was a
Which,
libertarian when I was listening to her.
yeah, well,
I
depends on
Yeah,
how
depends on
you
how you
feel that
define
fits
right
into the
wing.
paradigm.
I mean, radical leftists today are what Eisenhower was back in the 50s. So, the
Yeah,
goalposts have moved.
which is crazy, but true. I like Ike. People used to say, "Hey, how about we do one of these? Hey, Betty, Betty,
Do you think she's gotten
hey,
to the point
Betty."
where do you think she's gotten to the point
What's going?
where do you think she's gotten to the point where she's interested in listening to a lot of the earlier episodes of the show from 5, 6 years
Oh
ago
man, I don't
when
know that.
to see what she sounds like as a youngster?
I'm talking to friends right now.
Oh, she's talking to friends right now. Okay, babe, just really quick. What's this?
It's a spring.
Okay, see ya.
Yeah, how's are you still playing with that?
I sitting on the desk from the last time I was playing with it. It's still weird though. I like it. So is there any news that we missed or anything we need to tell the people?
Nobody of import has died in this last week. We didn't kill anybody, at least not that I know
Oh
of.
man, at least I hope not. Yeah. Oh,
We mentioned
dude.
Henry Rollins, so
Well, oh yeah. I hope we didn't kill him. No one that we mentioned in the last
no,
podcast died
yeah,
that I know of.
exactly.
But yeah, if Henry Rollins does die, apologies ahead of time.
Joe Biden gave his
Um.
first address to a joint session of Congress yesterday.
Oh. Okay. Well, how'd that go? Good.
I guess it went really well. I only heard like 10 minutes of it. So, there's that. I enjoy not having to pay attention to who the president is.
Yeah, that's kind of good. Although like I said, and I'll still say this. I did not want Joe Biden to be president up until the time when it was either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, and then I really wanted Joe Biden to be president.
Yeah.
Is the way I would describe it. But he's got problems. There are problems. You know, I when it was going to be Sanders, people were like, I don't want another old white guy to
dude,
be president,
yeah.
because Biden did not seem, and you'll back me up, this did not seem like he would be it.
There was
there
was a time
No
in those early
one-
debates. There was a time in those early debates where he had enough gaffes where you're like, well, Biden's done.
Yeah. At which point, like I said, people just should moderate what they say when they say.
I'm getting
I
a
don't wanna
lot
moderate,
of
because then you might have to campaign and stump for him, which is a problem.
yeah, I know. Like I'm sure
People are texting me.
Oh, is that why you're cutting out?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was your internet or mine, because this is.
Oh no, it's I'm getting messages that my D&D.
Your
This is
phone
why they tell you to
blowing
turn
up.
off your messaging. My D&D group isn't meeting at the regular time. Oh, by the way, did I tell you already that I'm going to be DMing the next?
You did,
the next
yeah.
session?
Putting together
not
your
the next
story
session,
and
but
everything. The next
iteration.
campaign, yeah.
It's pretty cool. I could have talked about that, but I didn't, and now the podcast is almost over.
Hey, look at that. Instead, we spent a lot of time talking about cars.
Also, I got to say, Unprepared Casters, the podcast, they used one of my suggestions for a magic item for the game that they're going to be doing next. And they mentioned in this episode that they came in. So there it goes again. Everyone is chiming in and saying that, yes, they can make it at the new time.
All right. Well, the people on the stream are experiencing that slowdown, but the people who listen to the podcast, you can find every week at GudeLaurance.com, will not hear that slowdown because Paul, of course, records on a different device.
And what to the one person or other people who viewed the stream, thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
It's fun for us, I think, to see each other. I like to think. But then you can see us too.
And you know what we look like. If you've only heard our voices up until now, you tune into the stream, you see what we look like, and we do not match our voices, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, nobody matches their voices though, so it's cool, man.
Alrighty.
All right.
Well, in that regard, Paul, I'm
wearing a bathrobe and I've got a beard, and all I need are some sunglasses, Ben.
All right, that shoulder corn really pulls the whole room together, doesn't it?
Bless you, Mr. Lawrence. All right, everybody. All right. We're going to take off, but we'll talk to you next time. And until then, keep it wrong.
Keep it wrong, Paul, and I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye, Edward.